In this series of videos, we're going to be going through the maths that is needed for GCSE Physics. Now, I'm going to be using the Edexcel specification because it's really clearly laid out. However, if you are using another exam board like AQA or OCR, the maths and physics that we're going to cover will still be relevant for you because at the end of the day, physics is physics, and most exam boards cover the exact same content, so you'll be fine to watch this. So in this first lesson, we're going to be going through this stuff here. So using SI units for physical quantities, and going through which ones you need and which to focus on for your GCSE. So the units that you need to know about are listed here in the appendix of the exam specification. So there are things here called base units, and these are units that can't be made up from any other units, which we'll discuss later. So the ones you need to know are the meter, the kilogram, the second, the ampere, and Kelvin. Now, mole is a base unit, but we don't really use it in physics. It's more used in chemistry. Okay, so we call these base units because every other unit that we use in physics is made from these units. They're kind of like the Lego bricks of making other things. So we can put together different combinations of units to create new units. So, for example, if I was to take something like speed, okay, to figure out what units we need to give something, we just look at the equation. So if I take speed, and that is equal to distance divided by time. All I need to do to figure out the units for speed is to look at the units for distance and look at the units for time. So if I look at distance, distance is a length, so it has units of meters, and time has units of seconds. And because I've got meters divided by seconds, we can literally write the unit for speed as meters divided by seconds. Now, normally, when you're writing units, we don't tend to write them on top of each other. We tend to write it as meters per second, like this. So, that's what we tend to do. And you can do this with any other unit that you can think of. If, for example, we could look instead, let me just get rid of this. Let's look at acceleration. So you could have acceleration, and you could want to work out what are the units of acceleration. Well, we know acceleration is a change in velocity divided by time. And once again, we need to figure out, so let's start with time. Obviously, we know time is a second. And we just worked out what the units for velocity were. We said the units for velocity were meters per second. So what I've got is I've got meters per second divided by seconds again. Now, when you get seconds divided by seconds, we just write this as meters per second squared. So the units for acceleration are just meters per second squared. You can either create some flashcards and learn these units and just learn that acceleration is meters per second squared, which you tend to naturally get better at doing over time, or you can remember your base units over here and just rework out what they should be in your exam. Another thing that's worth remembering, so we've just talked about units being made from other units. We give those the special name derived units because they are made from the base units. Now, there are a few derived units in physics that you have to remember, and they're listed in this table. Okay, so for example, you'll learn that force has units of newtons, okay, which has the symbol capital N. Now, this is a derived unit. It is not a base unit. It is made up from other base units. If we wanted to work out what the newton is equal to in base units, we do the same thing we were doing before. So we use an equation that we know. So for example, we know that force equals mass times acceleration. So I know we've got over here units of newtons. equals the unit of mass. Okay, but remember this m here is not the symbol meter, it's the symbol for mass. Mass has the unit kilogram. And we just worked out before that acceleration was meters per second squared. So a newton is the same as saying a kilogram meter per second squared. Okay, when we multiply units, we just put them next to each other. Okay, let's have a go at doing a similar thing. Let's take, for example, pressure, because this one will be interesting. So pressure has the equation force divided by area. Okay, now the units we use for pressure, it's got its own unit, okay, which is called the Pascal, which is capital PA. And if we look over here, we see that it's force divided by area. So we know force has a unit Newton, and area, well, area is length times length. So that's meter times meter, which gives us meter squared, okay? But this on the right still isn't a base unit because it's newtons, which newtons is a derived unit, okay? And we just worked out earlier what newtons was, but for sake of argument, let's just quickly calculate it again. We remember that force is mass times acceleration. So we get kilogram times meters per second squared divided by meters squared. Okay. Now, this is where it is important for us to remember some facts about multiplying and dividing by units with powers. Okay, so remember, if I, for example, if I have a to the power of 3 divided by a to the power of 2, the answer is a to the power of 3 minus 2, which is 1, which is just a. If instead I had, let's say, for example, a to the power of 2 divided by a to the power of 5, well, that is a to the power of 2 minus 5, which is minus 3. Okay? So, if I wanted to work out what the Pascal was in its base units, we get kilograms. Now, meters divided by meters squared, remember, it's like having a 1 there. 1 minus 2 is minus 1, so we get meters to the power of minus 1 divided by second squared. Okay, that last example is the most complicated that it's going to get. Okay, you probably wouldn't even really see that level. You'd be expected to remember this, okay, but not really be able to get this. That's more of an A-level thing. But as you can see, there are only these base units that you need to remember, which you can do using flashcards. And then as long as you know your equations, which you'll get on your equation sheet, you can just combine them together to work out what any of these are using these units here. Okay, so the best thing to do is use flashcards to learn your base units and then practice working out derived units using your equations and your base units. Okay, thank you for watching. In the next video, we're going to be going through 1.2, which is going to talk about prefixes and multipliers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I also have a TikTok account called Home of Tutoring, which will do similar content just in a shorter format. And if you are interested in other resources and tutoring, then make sure to follow Home of Tutoring on Facebook.